Marketing TV. Today we're going to be making some sounds using new Sonic Arts Granite. It is a granular synthesizer. Let's start with some presets real quick to give you a vibe of what this thing is capable of doing. So here's just a few presets. And actually, here's the original sample. Here's the original. The original is guitar. Here's the original. So some very cool possibilities here. We're going to dive a little bit into this. So before we do so, I need to tell you about gate. Gate is making it so that when I hit stop, it stops playing notes. It's a gate. If you don't have this on, it'll just make noise forever. It's a setting you should definitely know about. Probably the first one you need to know about, because if this ever turns off, you're going to go crazy trying to figure out where it's at. So yeah, make sure you know about this one. So with that being said, as we learn about it, let's make some sounds, shall we? So I had some atmospheres here, but you hear a lot of these sorts of sounds start off as like something, you know, real basic, real forward. So let's go ahead and go for like, I don't know, synth one shot. Let's just see what we have. Sure, why not? Let's just start out with something real simple like that. Now, off the beginning here, now there's some motion going on. So you can record stuff in. We don't necessarily want to do that right now. So I'm just going to start at, you know, a more basic preset. And I am going to grab this, import it. So there's mine. You can change the view here with this little thing down here. And if you're ever confused about what stuff is, you can click on this little info icon, and when you hover over stuff, it'll like tell you. So if you need a reminder, you can just click that. Okay, so we have our sound here. If we just hit play right off the bat with whatever this setting on this preset is, it's already completely different. So there's a shaper on, so let's take that off. We've also got some sample rate reduction, but the frequency is all the way down, but we'll take this off too. It sounds like there's some pretty hefty verb on here, so let's dial this back. Okay, so up here at the top, this is going to be kind of informational as we do things. Each one of these is a grain. So there's 16 grains, and each grain is like a little individual snippet of this sample that's being like selected and played back. So that's why it's called granular synthesis, because you take a bunch of little grains. So there's 16 grains here that each do something individually, and you can see sort of what each one is doing up here. So kind of cool. If we come over here to the grain menu, we're given some options. So we have like some pitch options for transposing the grains. I am triggering this with MIDI. So this is just like random MIDI. And let's go ahead and just hit play again. So right now we have a lot of grains, and this is controlled by the space control. So if we move the space control really high, no, very few grains. And they also come up very slowly. Let's take a look at the master, bring the attack down, and bring down the grain attack. So this is a per grain setting. This is like a master envelope. So, you know, that shouldn't be too crazy. It's just a master envelope. On the per grain setting though, I'm also going to get rid of this modulation. So the modulation, they have different shapes, including random. I'm just going to remove the modulation depth on everything so that it's not changing anything. I will leave the panning alone though. So the panning is being modulated around. Okay, so you can see space is not very many grains triggering very often. It's pretty rare. If you bring space to a lower setting, you'll get more grains triggering a lot more often. You see, it's just like, it's a party up there. So now you've got speed, and let's just bring this down. The speed is sort of the way this trend, how fast it moves through. So you can see it as a way to control the volume. If we bring space way down so it's slow, see, it selects a new one, selects a new one. If we make speed go backwards, it essentially will select grains from the other side And if we bring speed going forward, it'll select grains going the other way. And then if you default click, I believe that's 100%. No, 100% is 100%. There's a thing about getting it at the original playback speed, but it's never really been an issue for me. So if you want to get into more detailed stuff, you might want to figure that out a little bit more. So I'm going to bring the space down a little bit so we have things being selected. You can also reverse the grains, which is pretty cool. And then you can control the individual attack. Now the density is how long each individual grain holds out for. So right now they're overlapping all these different grains, but if I were to bring this down, you can hear like individual ones are going and there's only a few that are alive at any given moment. But if I start bringing them up, it starts triggering new ones because they're overlapping each other. And you get a little bit more of an interesting texture, which is how you go from something like really short and simple to sort of a more complicated texture. Let's just bring this in here a little bit. I quite like this sound. So what we might do now is we might come over to the effects and we've got some distortion. Oh, okay. So let's talk about what I just did there. I did not mean to click on that. I just accidentally did so. But on any of these controls, if they have this little like thing under them, you're able to click and drag on it and it will record that movement for however long you're clicking on this like ring, and it will then play it back as a recording. So this is sort of just like, you know, if you want some specific modulation, it's like you're making your own LFO basically. So there's like these LFOs, but then you could also do this. So if you click, if you click for just a brief moment and move, it'll have a short recording. If you click for a longer moment and move, it'll take that amount of time to do so. So I've accidentally here automated the shape. We can offset it, or I can get rid of it if I don't want it. So that shape, sample rate reduction can sound way cool. It's just aliasing essentially. Let's get rid of the modulation. Oh, and I'm not hearing it. You got to turn it on. It's up here. Yeah. So on this one, maybe instead of having it sit still, maybe we want it to move. So maybe we do a LFO. I chose the triangle shape, and then we move up the depth. This is positive depth, negative depth. And then this down here is sort of a skewing sort of effect. I really recommend with these that you just give them a go. A lot of times I don't have any specific idea other than, oh, I know I want to change the speed or I want to change how this sounds. If I want something real specific, it's easier to just usually grab and record it in. That's pretty cool. So maybe we'll keep that. We've got a filter. There's 3 filters. We're on a band pass. There's also a low pass and a high pass. And this one, you know, resonance, tone, cutoff, all this stuff's pretty straightforward. And let's go ahead and go over here to the effects. And finally, there's a verb. So pretty straightforward. Let's grab a new thing to make a different sound. So let's see here. What else do we got? Let's go for a different thing other than a one shot. Maybe a music loop of some kind. Sure, why not? So here I've got this piano sound. And if we go ahead and play this. Okay, so let's turn off the sample rate reduction first. Let's turn the space down a bit. Let's turn the density down. Oh, you know what would be kind of cool is if we have the density start high and then we do this. And so it comes down. And then as it goes, we also zone in on a note. So maybe this will move to here. And I'm grabbing these. It's hard to tell because there's like a thing in the way. And then I grab this red arrow on this one and I move it in to here. That didn't work exactly how I envisioned it, but hey, we'll go with it. We'll bring the speed down some. Start the density off maybe a bit higher. Okay, I regret this decision. Let's go ahead and take this blue bar, move it over here, and move it towards the front. Okay, I just went ahead and reset myself because I am unsure how to undo these things. I think you just re-click drag them. But it's just confusing with this like overlay constantly getting in the way. And I don't know of a way to resize the plugin to fix this. So this is just kind of a little bit of a bummer. But let's go ahead, let's grab that piano sound again. This time I'm just going to move it over to where it's not an issue. And I'm going to grab this one. And instead of moving this towards that, I'm going to move this towards up to there. That's fine. I'm going to turn the shape off, the sample rate off for now, the filter off. We're going to leave the verb on, but bring the size and time down. Bring the space down so we don't have so many grains. We're going to have the attack quite long on these, and we're not going to modulate the attack. And maybe instead of having so many fast notes, we'll have one note for now. I'm going to bring this in. Bring the mix down. Bring the filter in. But maybe the filter will make it a high pass. Now, I think it'd be kind of cool if we did like 2 octaves. And we made this a longer pad. Maybe move this out. We've got ourselves a nice pad. Adding a little bit of automation here at the top. It's very slow. Okay, let's do one more. That was pretty cool. Let me find, let's just see what we got here. Oh, potential here. Let's go for just a preset starting point, and let's grab this in and just hear what it sounds like with the preset. I like this motion already, so we're gonna keep that. And let's go ahead. Take the bandpass filter move off. Some nice effects there. We might choose this to be random with a higher depth. Maybe not so high depth, lower depth. No, higher depth is probably fine. And then the magic will happen, right, when we take this. So there's just a long decay. So even though I have gate on, it's just going to take a while to fade out. But that is Granite modular synthesis. Not modular synthesis, granular synthesis. You can do a ton of cool stuff with this. And a lot of it, you can get a lot out of one sound. So when you're writing music, you want to, automate a lot of things. Personally, that's what I wind up doing, because getting one patch going, but then you can have it morph and evolve in such an organic way because it's based on sample material. It can just be really cool as a starting point, especially if you're looking for some inspiration to get going with something like this. And you see there's not a ton of controls. And so in that way, you're really more focused on just the sound itself. And if you want a big change, you just change the sample. If you have any questions about this, feel free to let me know. Subscribe and hit that bell icon for future videos. And have a blessed day.